Welcome to Serve the Animals. My name is Tanja Andersen. I am your host on this summit. And today we have amazing speaker with us, a very interesting topic. I when we have this intercall, it's just like, oh my God, that was an interesting topic because she have a strong opinion about the horse world. And I really see that it's important to really bring that forward to you guys. And her name is Leslie Lockhart. I really hope I say last name correctly, my friend.
You did.
Nice. So who is this amazing lady you see here? She is founder and president of the sanctuary that is called Blue Moon Sanctuary. Is that correct, Sid?
It's a Bluemont.
Blue Moon Sanctuary.
Yeah.
And she funded that in 2019, where she saved horses, donkeys, and ponies. And she will really talk about a topic this interview is really get connected with, like her opinion about the horse world, where it's really coming to a point. So, and also like, what is the horse world? It's very new for me. So when I hear her and saw her center, it's just like she gets to get on. It is so important to bring that forward to really get a big understanding what is happening behind closed door. So share a little bit with us, Leslie, like who are you exactly and specific around your sanctuary, because it is around horses, donkeys, and ponies.
Yeah, so we are located in the United States, in New Jersey, and we rescue horses, donkeys, mini horses, ponies, and mules. We also have some goats, but our focus is equines. And we offer a permanent home for them, a safe space for them to call their own for the rest of their natural lives. So we offer extensive medical care. We don't euthanize based on age, based on, cost or, their abilities. We do whatever it takes for them to be comfortable. So very passionate about horses and their welfare.
Amazing. Share a little about like, why is this topic, as you talk about in the intercall, why is this topic so important for people to create a big awareness about, like understand the horse world?
So horses, in my opinion, are, people know about circus animals and they know how they are abused and exploited. But in my mind, there really is no difference with horses. They are also exploited. They're used for their bodies. They are discarded when they are no longer useful to humans. They are not oftentimes in the equestrian community considered to be a companion. And so, the average horse has 7 different owners. And within those owners in the United States, especially, and I believe this is similar overseas, they can be moved from one boarding barn to another. So it doesn't even mean that they had 7 different homes. They could have 7 different owners and 50 different homes, where they have to acclimate, make new friends there, lose their friends, and this is really hard on them. And a lot of people don't realize that, people think horses, it means that they're surrounded by affluence and by people that will care for them for their whole lives, and that they'll be turned out to pasture once they're finished with whatever job they're required to do. And that's simply not the case.
It's crazy. I did not know about like how many homes, people, the horses around. That is crazy. It's just like, oh my God, that is a big number to have that in my mind.
Yes, it's and it's really hard on them because horses are herd animals, so they're prey animals, so they are dependent on companionship and consistent companionship, and they lose their human companions, they lose their horse companions, and people don't even think twice about it, really. And it's never even, things can impact me when I see them online, and it's not even just a horse that needs a home or a horse that's being abused actively and visibly being abused, but it's also when a horse switches homes and I see them unloading from the trailer and I can just feel what they're feeling. I see their eyes and their eyes are huge and they're so confused, and people will just get them home and ride them that day, not even allow an acclimation period, because they're a vehicle to many.
Oh my God, so crazy. I'm curious to know, like, a little bit specific around this, your opinion about, I really hope I say it correctly, around when horses come to the place where people buy them for very cheap money, like come to like auctions. I think it's called auctions, markets. Like, how can we put a stop so they're not coming to that point?
So that is something we're particularly passionate about. So there are a lot of rescues that will go to auctions and save horses from auction, and that is valid. But really our goal is to keep them from landing there in the first place. So I believe that starts with education, and that starts with the equestrian culture. So it's really when, and I say a little girl, but obviously little boys too. But oftentimes, a little girl will walk into a lesson barn, a barn where they're offering horseback riding lessons. And, she has stars in her eyes. She wants to see this unicorn. She's so excited to get on a pony. And then what is very pervasive at these lesson barns is the trade up and trade out mentality. So they will encourage, because this is how a trainer makes their money, they will encourage mom and dad to buy a pony for their daughter who's small. Maybe she's 6 years old. And when she outgrows that pony, they sell the pony and she gets another one and she gets another one. And it just starts the cycle. So we have to change that mentality of if you are going to ride, which I don't personally ride, and that's another hurdle, to clear at another time. But for now, I think the focus has to be, if you're going to purchase a horse, it's for life. And to not, even if you purchase the pony and you need a larger horse, you keep the two of them. And if you can't afford the two of them, don't purchase the first horse. So this is where I'm passionate about changing how trainers start the process with people.
Mm-hmm.
And, we aren't short on reels and TikToks of people saying, oh, at least I have a mare because when she can't be ridden, she can have a baby. So, she still has a use, creating a baby, being a mom, and, then you're using her baby. So it's really, there is no break for them. They're always trying to get that last, it's an American expression, maybe it's also one overseas, that last drop of blood out of the stone.
Interesting. So how, if a person really wants to buy a horse, what is so important for them to really get information about before they are taking that action?
So it depends. So if you're rescuing a horse, and you're not riding the horse, then you really just need to understand temperament. Will you be able to handle this horse? What are their medical needs, especially as like a private adopter or whatever. Having a clear understanding, adopting a horse from a rescue, not just going to a slaughterhouse or an auction and pulling the horse yourself because you may not know what you're getting into. If you're purchasing a horse for riding, then you need to perform a pre-purchase exam with a licensed veterinarian. And you need to take your time and be patient. And even if the horse doesn't turn out to be exactly what you wanted, you still have an obligation to commit to that horse, in my opinion.
Yeah. Amen to that. So I'm on with it. You're with that. So sorry, keep going.
I'll add one more thing to that. I think that oftentimes riders don't want to change their discipline for the horse. So if you have a rider that's a jumper and they purchase a horse for jumping and that horse turns out to not be able to do jumping, they won't change their discipline to a hunter or equitation, or even just horseback riding in the woods or whatever. You know, they won't change their discipline, so they will sell their horse and try and purchase another one and another one until they find the horse that suits their perfect ideal.
I've never think about that before. That's a bit crazy. Oh my God. Interesting. So you have touched point around this, like if I say it correctly, you say a horse is animals that is, what was the word you're using? There was a new word in my mind.
Companion maybe, or circus animal. I do.
There was the other one, like what is a horse exactly? Like what is a horse meant to be? There was a word you're using 2 times.
A herd animal.
Yeah. Can you please share a little bit about what that is? Because that word for me is very new.
Okay, so goats are herd animals, so are sheep, and so are horses and many other types of animals. So because they are prey animals, they live in a herd, like just like gazelles or you know, in Africa. There are strength in numbers. You know, there are strength in numbers, and they protect themselves from predators based on the herd. So if a horse is living alone, or a horse's environment is changing often and they're not with the same companions, then that impacts their well-being overall dramatically. A horse that lives alone could oftentimes they have sleep deprivation. They will not sleep. They can pass out. They can go down from not sleeping because they want the protection of another companion to watch over them while they sleep. They take turns sleeping.
Oh wow.
So there are many why it's to their benefit, but really it's about nature and that they belong living in groups.
Interesting. So when you choose like go the way to rescue a horse, can you rescue one horse and one donkey, or it's better to have like 2 horses or 3, 5 together so the horse is thriving in the herd with the other horses? So
that's a great question. I have found personally at our sanctuary that donkeys like to be with other donkeys. But that doesn't mean that a donkey and a horse won't bond, because they will. Just like a donkey and a mini, or a horse and a mini horse will bond. We just find that they tend to sort of like to be with others like them.
Yeah.
But 2 always makes me nervous. We have some little herds of 2 and they're very bonded. But when one, if one passes away, which is inevitable, they rarely pass together, the other one is left heartbroken. So if you have 2 horses at home, and it's often, I'm certainly not critiquing anyone who has 2 horses. I just personally worry about if they lose their companion, how heartbroken they'll be. So I like 3 to answer your question. Long story short, I'd like 3 in a herd.
It was very important, like information to know that like when someone passes away, it will be left alone, heartbreaking, and who knows what will happen in the horse's health. So that was a very good point to hit that. I did not know that.
Yeah, and oftentimes what we see with aged horses, so they've been with their companion for a long time. And they might be in their late 20s or early 30s, and they have senior owners also, is that the owner is reluctant to get another horse, because, you know, horses live a long time. And so it is an intelligent thing to think about your age and the horse's age and all of that. But there are so many senior horses that need rescue that I would encourage those folks to go out and get another horse that is a similar age and offer a loving place for that animal.
Interesting.
I hope that made sense.
It makes sense. A question to that. So when you go out to rescue, or if you have like a horse as a pet, whatever, you have choose to use that horse too. When you go out and adopt no shop, if I say that correctly, it's best to choose a horse that is a similar age rate, or is it okay to have an older one or younger one?
So there's no hard and fast rule, but there's certainly exceptions, but I prefer to pair horses that are similar in capabilities and age. So I don't want a young baby, a 2-year-old who's going to be like a toddler, with a 30-year-old who's a little bit cranky and, doesn't want to run around and doesn't want, this toddler like biting his bum and, so it's like, so I do try to have similar ages with one another. Like we have a baby, I call them the babies, but they're all under 5 mini horses. And one of our mini horses, Charlie, by proxy, is bonded to this herd, but he's a little bit older. And so he will sort of stand and watch them all run around. And he's like, whatever. But I think he enjoys it, and I watch him closely and he's bonded with them deeply. So he's happy.
Oh, so cute. So cute.
Yeah.
What is important to know about, get a better idea around the cost, like the cost to have a horse, have 3 horses when we go for that?
So that can vary widely based on your area, like where you're located, how much your veterinary expenses will be, access to good veterinary care where they can come to your farm. I mean, that's ideal versus trailering horses all over. Sometimes you have to. And also, do you have grass? Do you have good access to hay in your area? So these are all questions that you start with. Because if you have grass, and your horse can safely have grass, then that offsets the cost of feed. So really, I would say anywhere between right around $300 a month for one horse. And that's assuming no medical conditions. So that would be farrier care, hay, and feed. That's not upkeep on your property, and that's not manure removal and things like that.
Interesting. What else is important for when a person chooses to rescue or choose to have a pet as horse? Like, what is the 3 things that is most important for the person to know about before the person chooses to act on? Do I get to buy one, or do I get to adopt one or rescue one?
Well, I think it's your expectations, right? So I will bay mare over 17 hands high. She must be between 5 and 8 years old. She must, and all of these expectations that you may not find your, quote unquote, perfect horse within that color and, all of that temperament that you're looking for and her abilities, his or her abilities. But anyway, I think that if you're adopting, you should adopt from a rescue that is fully testing the horses, and knows the horse and can pair them with the right home. And then additionally, if you're purchasing a horse from a trainer or from a, for lack of a better word, a dealer, then you need to know that they have a good reputation, that, again, you do that pre-purchase exam, exactly what you're getting into health-wise and all of that. I hope that made
sense.
Some sense.
It makes sense. And also one thing that is also critical also to your audience, as Lizzie have touch point on, is also what I come to my mind is also, before you choose that, if it gets to be like a pet or whatever you choose it to, we will remind you to rescue or adopt one, because there's many out there. It's really also think about, if you're going the pet way, buy one, if the person is not fitting in your criteria, what will you do? Because I believe that there was also an important question to really also think about? What will you do? Like you get to still have the horse afterwards, and what is the next step? Does that make sense?
Yes, and that is often when we see that a horse needs to be rehomed because someone thinks the horse is going to be a certain way, and they once that horse is not meeting their expectations, which can be somewhat rigid, they are now, pushing that horse down the line. And so the first question I think someone should ask themselves is, are they willing to keep the horse regardless? Because for me, I'm making a commitment to that animal. So I think that's really important for people to think about. And if you're not willing to commit through thick and thin, don't purchase the horse.
Interesting. Because every horse, like every other animals in the world, have a different personality, no matter what race or species it is. Like every animals have a different kind of personality. I can see that on birds, my two parrots, they are really not good friends, and just like people just like invite me. And I also think there's a good picture also to have two horses. If you get two horses that cannot like get connected with each other, like what will you do on that point? Like my two parents is not friends at all. Like what is the next level for me so that I can create a life for them both to thrive? And that is definitely like move to a farm as I go for, because I stand for birds belong outside, don't belong inside. And also like, how can I create environment from the both? I also get to have a partner from the both, because it is flock animals, and they get to be around other birds, so they are thriving as the natural behavior they have in them.
Right. That's such a good point. And that's lovely that you did that. And it's very, very inspiring, because not many people would do that. I agree sometimes. So like when you adopt from a rescue, typically they want it to be a good fit too. So if you bring home a horse and he's not working with your current horse, oftentimes you can work with that rescue, bring the horse back, maybe try a different horse. Typically, if you're buying from a dealer or a breeder, they may not always take that horse back. So that's something to keep in mind as you prepare, but oftentimes, so people are interested in defining rescue, because you could purchase a horse up the street from you for $1,000, and to me that is still a rescue, because people want to get that last dime out of their horse, and a lot of times that $1,000 horse needs a really safe place to land. And if you're willing to sort of put your neck out there, you can help that horse. And again, you're helping. You're not just getting a commodity.
Interesting. I'm interested around something. So if a person, to your audience, that choose to rescue, to adopt, I think I'll say it correctly, can they go to this like auction, I think it's called auction place, and like, as I see, like save one of the horses for very cheap money to give the horse a better life? Or what will you invite the audience to do around that?
So that isn't without risk, because you don't know the horse's temperament necessarily. You don't know medically what you're getting into. So I would say it depends on your commitment level. If you're willing to commit to the animal regardless of what presents, absolutely do that. That can feel very rewarding. It's the same as pulling a dog from a shelter. The interactions in most shelters between the staff and the dog are not that, they don't know that much about the animal. They know a little, but if you were dealing with a dog rescue who fosters, then you're going to know a lot more about the dog, and you can really find a good match. So I would say if your experience level is low and you're worried or nervous about what you could be getting in with the animal, then I would say you should adopt from an actual rescue. But social media sort of glorifies people going to auctions and rescuing and the drama of it all. And real rescues happen in, pulling a horse from someone's backyard. That's also real rescue. So it's not just at auction houses. And I want people to know that, helping them before they get to the auction house is the ideal situation.
Yeah, so when people go to a private person or rescue center, not to rescue center, like private people, can that stop the process so that the horse is not going to auctions?
Yes. If you see a free horse online or a $500 horse or a low priced horse, it really is no different than cats or dogs. In here where we are, they might be listed on Craigslist or Facebook. And we have Sam, and we've told his story on our page numerous times, but he was listed for free and the first person to show up with a trailer. And so, that is something that is like, if you can help in those scenarios and you're willing to commit to that animal, do that. Absolutely. Because his next stop is going to be auction.
Good point. So I would like to know, sorry, keep going.
Also, I will add that, and I think you and I touched on this before, and when we first met each other, is in the United States, horses are exported over the border for their meat. So when a horse is priced low or free, they are absolutely at risk for shipping to slaughter. So you are literally saving a life by helping a horse in that situation.
Good point. Thank you for touching point on that. And also to the audience and all what is happening, what Leslie is sharing, what is happening out there, and really sharing the truth through her eyes is also important to see the good in the world. So how can the audience out there to really turn the eyes around to see the good in the world around the horse world?
So I think that following, often, first of all, being a patron at a barn or a place that is taking excellent care of their horses, that is allowing them to also be a horse, not just live in a box and offer lessons all day long. So if you are intent on riding a horse or doing any of those activities, any of those quote unquote hobbies, do not make excuses for barn owners and for trainers. Oh, they don't have enough land. Oh, whatever, the horse didn't work out. I hear people making excuses for the professionals in the equestrian industry, and really they're just sort of, it's easier for them to stay at the barn they're at. So they're making excuses. Number one. Number two, follow accounts that are positive, that are considering the horse first, that are training with positive reinforcement, that are encouraging you to be gentle with your horses, that encourage people to keep their horses for life. Many rescues do encourage that and educate alongside rescuing horses.
That's beautiful. So that is a good point. And also, like, here to end, Leslie, is one thing I would like to share with you and you to the audience. Like, I have always been afraid for horses. Like, that animal scare me. And it's because he's so mighty, he's so powerful, really owning who the horse is when the horse is running, going, whatever the horse chooses to do in this field. And last winter, I was going over to a field where there was horses on. The horses was a little bit a long way from me, and I was taking a picture of like rapid footsteps in the snow. And this big horse was going like towards me, and I was just like, oh my God. And I was like, breathe. The horse can feel if you're scared. And I was just like, oh, I'm breathing, standing still. And the horse was coming so close to me and look at me, and I was just like, I was like taking my hands out, like I spin me to it, and the horse is sniffing, and I was going a little bit. The horse was just taking the nose on my hands, like I get like a feel around, they give me a signal around it was okay to touch it. So it's touching a little bit on the chest. The horse was going a little bit closer to me. There was like a fence between us. And the horse gave the signs on the one they want me to cuddle it. So I was like cuddle it under the, like this, that was on the horse. And the horse were like giving like sniffing to my hair, up in the hair, on the side and on my cheek. It was like, I was like, now it's biting me. Now I get bite on my cheek. Now it's happening. And it was just like sniffing with the, like with the doing, I don't know what the English name for it, and down on my clothes. And the horse in the last moments was taking the head and pushing me to the chest. I was like, woo! And I just feel this. I've never experienced this, like when people talk about it is so spiritual to really connect with a horse. Like you will feel you're seeing, like the horse is seeing your soul, like who you are as a being. And I just feel this growth in really feeling the power, feeling the mighty, like the power, the muscle the horse has. And I really feel a deep connection with the horse. That's make a huge impact in who I am as a being, to really be okay with my power. And there was just a beautiful moment with the horse. It's just like, I'll never forget that moment. Or you
That
just like
horse,
standing there.
yeah. So that horse, so I always remind people, because we offer very limited and very small farm tours, especially for our donors. Because, this is the sanctuary for the horses. We don't want to have like a petting zoo type of situation or anything, but it's our horses love people, even the horses that came to us completely feral and wild now adore people, because people bring food, right? You have food, you have love, you have all the things. So that horse was grooming you.
Yeah.
And so when you were scratching or rubbing, that horse was enjoying it and was offering that back to you.
Oh, definitely.
And that's a huge, especially just meeting you for their first time. That horse read your energy and said, yes, I like you. I want to be with you, and I consider you a peer. Let me groom you too. I love that story.
Yeah, I definitely experienced that. There was just experience is interesting, like how my brain was in the beginning. Now I get by, it's just like, calm down, the horse can feel your energy. The horse is there to give you love, care. I'm just like, if I get to bite, I will bite. The horse will bite me. And there was never happened. The horse was just like taking the head down, just like it was showing me where I get to groom it. And it would just get closer and closer and closer. And that was grooming. I have like spit on my clothes and all that fun stuff.
I always have spit on my clothes.
And it was just beautiful.
Horses by nature want to conserve energy. So that is why when people say, oh, horses and racing isn't that bad. They love to run. Horses will run and they will play sometimes, but because they're prey animals, they conserve energy. So a lot of times I explain that to people when they're entering their paddock. They're not here to run you over. They're not here to exert energy being aggressive in most cases. They're there to just either be with you, or if they're not interested, they will completely avoid you. So you certainly encountered a horse that was interested in human engagement.
I've never experienced that. So there was the most like this when you people talk about horse is so healing when you have like this connection with a horse, because you just like the spirits, the energy in a horse is. I've never experienced so big power from an animal before to be so close to a horse. It is just mind blowing, like what healing that's happening, what connection I get with myself through the animals. It was just like, I'll never forget the experience.
Well, their hearts, their literal hearts are giant. So, people say their heart center is just so large, and that they're so intuitive, which is true. I mean, they really pick up. I actually did a post today on Instagram and Facebook about this very thing. We have a blind horse, and people will walk up to her and feel pity, and they will go, oh, and they will, and I'm like, don't project that onto her. she's strong and she has to feel strong. And even though we may feel sympathy for her, we would never do that to a human in a wheelchair. We would never project those we should be like, she's got this, and she does. She's adapted very well. So horses just are so in tune with humans and with other animals. They will eat in the paddock with deer, with a wild fox and her pups that she had. They don't bother them. They're not threatened by them at all. They will share their space willingly.
I love that. So what would you like to, if you would like to leave the audience with one important thing around this understand the horse world, what would that be, listening?
That would be, there's so many. I think 20 just hit my head. But I think that considering the horse and remembering that they are wild animals, they have DNA that cannot be ignored. They have needs, genetic and physiological needs that must be met, that as a whole in our domesticated and industrialized world are not always being met. And if I had one wish for every horse, would be for their shepherds or their stewards to consider those needs and put them first before riding or before competitions or ribbons or money.
Beautiful. And to you, dear audience, where can you really get access or follow this amazing organization? Is go below this video. There's all the links you get to know, like Instagram, where you can find them, information about the organization. And we will invite you to go down in Instagram to follow them right now, so you get up to date on what they are up to. Also the Facebook's down there, and also the web page. So really educate yourself in it. And I know you can reach out to Leslie and her team. So if you have some questions about this, understand the horse world, if you have some questions afterwards this interview, please reach out to them. They are experts in the fields. And with that, do you have the last final words where people can get support you, Leslie, and what people can do to really get information about you guys?
Sure, yes. So we are Bluemont, so that's BLUEMONT, equine sanctuary. So equines are all horses. So I should say horses, donkeys, minis, all of that. So equine sanctuary. We're on social media. We have a website. We have events. I know many may not be local to us, but we have galas. We have a wreath making event. We do all sorts of things to allow people to see horses, but not as commodities. So I really value those experiences. So yeah, that's how you follow us and hear our messaging and all of that. But also, I encourage people to get involved with their local rescues to help their immediate community. That is so important.
Amazing. So to the audience, thank you so much for watching this amazing interview. Please go down below this interview. There will be the link where you can follow. So we, Leslie and I, will invite you to go click follow everything so you get up to date with the information. So thank you so much for watching this interview with us and choosing this to your life and choosing a bigger awareness and a knowledge around it before you choose a horse into your life. And thank you so much, Leslie. It was a blessing. I look so much forward to it because I really appreciate you, because you have the opinion you have. That is power. I really admire you by that. You are a hero in my life, in my eyes, because you're brave enough to share it, to be the eyes on what is happening out there and share it how it is. So thank you so much for being a hero, being a leader, and being the voice for the horses.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to do this interview, and I admire you as well.
Oh, thank you. That was a good word. I admire you. That's a new word in my dictionary. So thank you so much, audience. We wish you the most amazing day and see you next time, guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye.